Alright, welcome to today's stream, guys. Today we're going to be talking about Hurricane Dorian, um, which is aiming directly at Florida in the Bahamas. So, uh, if you live there, you need to prepare now for a potentially destructive hurricane. Forecast to become a Category 4 hurricane at landfall with wind speeds of 130 miles per hour, gusts higher than that. Here's the key messages from the National Hurricane Center. Life-threatening storm surge and hurricane force winds possible this weekend. Continue to increase in the northwestern Bahamas, and hurricane watches could be issued there tonight or Friday. So hurricane watches are likely to be issued tonight or on during the day on Friday. There's the increasing likelihood of life-threatening storm surge along portions of the Florida East Coast late this weekend into early next week. And there's the risk of devastating hurricane-force winds along the Florida East Coast and Peninsula late this weekend through early next week. And all this continues to increase. Here's the wind speed probabilities here. This is the probability of sustained tropical storm force winds here. And you can see it's basically maxed out in the purple here, right off the coast. Hello. So and basically the northern Bahamas are maxed out for potential tropical storm force winds, and it's up to 80% chance on the east coast of Florida. Here's the probabilities of 50 knot or greater winds, and it also continues to increase. It's up to a 60% chance across a little bit of the east coast of Florida. And then the potential of hurricane force winds again continues to increase up to a 30 to 40% chance on the east coast of Florida. Here's the cone of uncertainty. You can see we are sitting at a Category 1 right now, sustained winds of 85 miles per hour, moving northwest at 13 miles per hour. This was issued at the 11 a.m. advisory. We should be getting a new advisory in the next 20 minutes or so for the 2 p.m. intermediate advisory. And it's forecast to become a major hurricane by tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And possibly a Category 4 hurricane by 8 p.m. on Friday. It continued to maintain that Category 4 storm strength through 8 a.m. Sunday and right up to landfall. This is going to be another storm that's going to attempt to strengthen right up to landfall. And then it's just going to be a hurricane. And notice how the cone is not spread out. It's basically confined to Florida. So models are trying to slow this storm down, which would result in heavy rainfall, which would also be a bad threat from the storm. I'm just going to open up weather models real quick so we can track the storm. And right now, this is the best forecast of where the center could possibly go. Probably going to stay to the north of the Bahamas, not make landfall until hitting Florida by sometime Monday morning. It is forecast to make landfall in Florida. So we will be watching the storm very closely. As of now, there's no watches yet. And here's the earliest and most reasonable time of sustained tropical storm force winds. So you got until about between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. Saturday and Sunday to get your preparations done. In the Bahamas, preparation should be done by tomorrow, as tropical storm force winds will be on the increase during the day on Saturday. And then the most likely time these will arrive by about Sunday afternoon and evening on the Florida coast. So yeah, we're gonna go to weather models now, and we're gonna track out the system. We're gonna take a look at the GFS and European model, what they're forecasting. So this just loads all up. Take a look. Alright, so this is what the GFS is showing. So there's Dorian down here right now. And it shows it going to intensify. And there's a slight chance this thing could go through rapid intensification. Right now, conditions are not favorable for rapid intensification, but there's the potential that this could eventually go to rapid intensification. And right up to landfall, it shows it. The GFS shows it strengthening down to 959 millibars, which is a very powerful storm. It even gets down to 957 right before landfall. So a very strong hurricane is certainly possible. We're going to keep it at that same time, but we're going to switch it on over to the European model, show what it see what it shows, and it shows it farther. It shows it farther from land, and it shows a little weaker, barely though, still Category 4 probably. So once this loads up, we'll be able to play it. Yep. So here's what the European model shows. There it is, and it grows in size by a large margin. See, it shows it getting down to 948 millibar storm. It shows it making landfall right near Miami. That would be a very, very strong storm to hit Miami if this were right. So that is a devastating track. Anywhere on the Florida Peninsula is a devastating track. Going right through Miami as a Category 4, Category 5 storm is what the European model shows. That is a very strong storm. Don't take any of these literally. We're still several days out, and a lot is going to change because the GFS had it more to the north. The European model has it more to the south. But what we do know is there will be a landfall on Florida, in Florida, this coming up weekend. And basically, this is why there's no way this thing can go out to sea. We're gonna have a blocking high pressure here, and the winds are gonna be circulating around it, basically guiding Dorian to the coast. So it's gonna have it's basically blocking high pressure right here. It's blocking it from going safely up the east coast and out to sea. The high pressure is blocking that, so that's an option that's not gonna happen. So we'll be watching this very closely. Now we'll take a look at what the rainfall projections are from the European model. And again, I mentioned this earlier, some models are starting to indicate this thing's going to slow down, which would really not be good. So, basically, everything is not, models are not showing a good forecast here. So, by the time the storm is done, the max rainfall up here is 28.7 inches, somewhere on Florida. And another thing to note, Florida has been soaked over the past few weeks. Since June 1st, Miami's picked up almost 40 inches of rain. In the last week, parts of Florida picked up 28 inches of rain. So this is an unwelcome sight for rainfall. So that's what the European model is showing. Now let's take a look at what the GFS is showing. GFS shows shows about 31 inches of rain somewhere in these purple areas. So I'm gonna shows it also coming back out to sea, and it looks like it could be intensifying again. So, so much to figure out with this storm still. We'll take a look at some of the spaghetti plots now, and some of the model guidance. For Dorian, we'll take a look at the intensity guidance, the early intensity guidance. Most models want to bring it up to Cat 3 and Cat 4 now. And then we'll do the experimental late guidance. One model in particular wants to bring it up to Cat 5, and it's been like that for pretty consistent like that. But again, most of these models do bring it up to Cat 4. You got that one outlier that does want to bring it to Cat 5. Probably won't get up to Cat 5 strength. But still, a Category 4 hurricane is nothing to joke about. So here's the spaghetti plots from the European. And you can see they're still all over the place. Some models don't even want to bring it to land. They want to just bring it. Again, there's going to be a blocking high pressure that's going to block this thing from going out to sea. Some of them want to just bring it and ride the coast all the way up the east coast and just bring it out to sea or up into the Canadian Maritimes. And most of the models are centered on Florida and the Georgia coastlines, maybe even the North and South Carolina coastlines. This is the GFS ensembles, and you can see they're basically focused all on Florida, so or even into the coast of Georgia and South Carolina. And then there's a couple models that want to bring it out to sea, bring it up near the Canadian Maritimes and New England. So yeah, we're watching this one very closely. Then we'll take a look at the early track. Here is now, again, there's these two outlier models. Most of them do bring it towards Florida. So if you do live in Florida, you need to be preparing now for a possibly major hurricane by about Saturday into Sunday. So that's going to do it for today's stream, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day and stay safe out there and prepare if you are in Florida.